The government slated to reopen later this afternoon. Democrats going full Pee-wee's Big Adventure on Chuck Schumer. I mean, dude, you remember that scene when they're in the bar and Pee-wee's knocked over all the motorcycles and they're going to, I say we hang them and then we drown them and then we kill them, I say we let them go. No! That's pretty much where they're at with Chuck Schumer. Anything you can think about Chuck Schumer being said right now.
You can't just make up lies about people.
Oh, they're not making up lies. Unfortunately, Pee-wee, a lot of them are true. We'll get into it. It's a very busy episode of the show. Kennedy's going to be here. The K-train rolling back into the station. 2 sports star from MTV and, of course, the Fox News platform. Diamond Dave Landau, comedy's sexiest man. And, yes, Dave and I are going to get into the new emails unearthed by House Oversight Dems that include commentary about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. We'll have the conversation.
This guy will say anything.
You're damn right he will, because I am not an activist. I am a talk show host. You are all welcome to agree or disagree. None of it matters to me. My only agenda is to keep you mildly entertained and serve as some form of spiritual caffeine during your workday, something you look forward to, something that picks up the energy a little bit. Oh, that dopey fail is coming on. So that's all we're really after on the show. What you do with it from there is all you.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Well, even if you can't dig it, you can still partake. Be a Republican, be a Democrat. Just don't be a bang. Happy Wednesday. I'm in good spirits. There's a lot going on. I'm happy to see the government reopen. Yes, it seems the pain was pointless. But we got to laugh about it because yesterday I was tweeting about the Democrats. They've been spending basically 40 days, the longest shutdown in government history, saying Republicans shut down the government. Oh, Republicans shut down the government.
That is a fact check false.
Now, to be clear, they didn't. Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, but they didn't have enough of a margin to keep the government open, meaning every single Republican voted to keep the government open, but that wasn't enough because they only have 53 senators. So they needed more Democrats to cross the 60-vote threshold.
That's true. That is true.
So the Democrats, who voted 15 times against reopening of the government, were the reason it was shut down. But lo and behold, forget that. Okay, that's a semantic blame game. I bring it up because after 40 days of saying Republicans shut down the government, I can't believe they shut down the government. People are suffering because they shut down the government. But lo and behold, what are the Democrats now doing? Complaining that the government is opening.
Democrats are so full of crap.
So I had tweeted yesterday something to that effect. Here is the great Brett Baier on Special Reports, probably the only time you're going to hear me quoted on Special Report, but last night in the 6 p.m. hour, Brett Baier mentioned my tweet, and we just found it funny, and he and I had a really silly exchange in the aftermath. It's clip 1.
Josh, Jimmy Fallon, who, occasionally we quote on this network, put out, pro tip, if you're going to call it the Republican shutdown, you're not supposed to get mad that it's ending. Yeah. It's really interesting to watch some of the reaction.
Yeah, because what you're watching is all performative outrage.
When you're right, and you're right.
Guys, if you can't be mad that it's closed and then be mad that it's opening, at that point, nobody takes you seriously, which is why I tweeted what I did, and people laughed, and Brett Baier ran with it just because. And it was a silly moment, but the consequence is real. Like, I'm listening to Sean Duffy today talk about the shortage of air traffic controllers. Think about the tens of thousands of people who've had flights canceled or delayed because of the shutdown. Didn't get to see a loved one, didn't make it to a special event. We took a call yesterday about his son's wedding this weekend down in Tampa. A bunch of Long Island people can't make it down to Tampa, so that's probably a win for Tampa. But they might not be happy about it. They're going to get down there and hang out and tear it up. Okay, but the point is that's repeating itself all across the country. And then you've got this whole idea of health care. Oh, the health care is too expensive. It is. But you know who passed the health care all by themselves with not a single solitary opposition vote? The Democrats did.
Tell them like it is.
It was called Obamacare. And I've been saying this for as long as it got passed. I said the Republicans should stop calling it Obamacare. They were doing that because Obama, of course, was the president. It was his bill. He wasn't popular with the Republican base. And yes, they wanted to tie it to him because in those midterm elections, Barack Obama holds the presidential record. No president has lost more seats down ballot during midterm elections than Barack Obama.
I don't see you doing any better in the booty department.
So in theory, slandering legislation by tying it to Obama seems like a good idea short term, but the reason it was long term bad, and I've been saying that for as long as somebody's been nice enough to powder my fat face and shove me in front of a camera, is because Obamacare, calling it Obamacare, does not juxtapose what actually happened to the healthcare market as a result of its passage, meaning the technical term for the bill was the Affordable Care Act. And if you called something the Affordable Care Act every single time we ran another report on healthcare costs going up by over 300% since its passage, people would have a little more perspective on the damage done by Obamacare. They told us it was historic and it was great, but what they didn't tell you is healthy people were going to have to pay nearly double for their health insurance so some people could get it free. Okay, young kids who don't necessarily need the full coverage were going to be required by law to buy it so some people could get it for free. The point being is the people getting it for free weren't getting free health care. They were just sticking other people with their bill.
That's not right.
Okay, that's very similar to what student loan forgiveness was going to be. So you understand, in the aftermath of the shutdown, they're mad at Chuck Schumer because he called for it. They have nothing to show for it. You know, they openly admitted, all right, shutdowns are unpleasant, and a lot of people are going to suffer, but this is our only leverage. Like, flat out said it. Hey, we want Republicans to change the big, beautiful bill. We want them to extend the Obamacare subsidies that we passed with zero Republican support. Okay, and the only way we're going to do that is if other people suffer and get so mad about missing a paycheck if they're an air traffic controller, missing a SNAP benefit if they're a recipient. They'll get so mad that everybody's going to turn against the Republicans.
Wrong.
Except it didn't happen because everybody knew who was to blame. Okay, and lo and behold, this conversation that they started around healthcare costs, they thought was a great idea. And in theory it is, because we got to address healthcare costs. It's a real problem. But the longer this conversation goes on, the more Americans realize that the reason the healthcare costs are so expensive is because of the Democrats.
Oh, wow.
Okay, straight up. Here is Ana Navarro on CNN. She's on the panel show last night where they all just sit around and call the Republicans racist. And, she's just about to call somebody Hitler. And Scott Jennings does a pretty good job of spelling out the real issue with Obamacare. Clip 6.
Going to hear horrible stories. People are not going to be able to afford their insurance. I don't think even with subsidies, they're going to be able to afford the premiums that are hiking up 100, 200, 300%.
Wasn't Obamacare supposed to fix that?
When people, no, well, not without the universal. I mean, there's
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah,
Affordable was the
listen,
first word.
The Republicans have been chipping away at the ACA, and I think this is going to be the death of the ACA, but it's also going to be the death of some Americans who don't go get screenings, who don't get diagnosed early enough in order to get treatment.
Remember this. Anytime a political debate ends with, you have to do this my way or people are going to die, the person saying that is full of any single time. Okay, you got to support climate change. Everybody's going to die. If you don't support climate change, we're all going to die. It's all going to be your fault. The oceans are boiling. We don't have any time left to live.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
The world is going to end in 12 years, said AOC back in 2012.
AOC is a dope.
Do it my way or everybody's going to die. Okay, do you remember the vaccine mandate? If you don't take this non-working vaccine, you got blood on your hands. Old people are going to die because of you. But you're like, hey, whoa, if the vaccine works, the old person getting the vaccine doesn't have to worry whether or not I've taken it.
I think he's got a point.
Yeah, the point is they're all full of okay, anytime the argument is you got to do it our way or people are going to die. Gender-affirming care. If you don't let a 5-year-old, they're not old enough to get a tattoo. They're not old enough to buy a pack of cigarettes. Okay? not old enough to vote. They're not old to make any important decision about their life. They're 5. They're a minor. They're not fully developed. They're not fully formed. Okay, but if you don't give this 5-year-old kid permanent gender reassignment surgery, they're going to die. They're going to kill themselves. That's why it's called gender affirming care. You're affirming, okay, this conflict they feel after having a parent or teacher beat it into their head every day for 5 years. No 5-year-old kid gets out of bed, okay, thinking about being trapped in the right or wrong body. Okay, I raised a 5-year-old kid. Do you know what they want all the time? Mac and cheese and ice cream. Hold on. Mac and cheese and ice cream and chicken nuggets. Oh, yeah. And anything else you can throw ketchup on, including pizza.
What the hell did you just say?
I'm dead serious. You throw them a pizza, you throw a bottle of ketchup at a 5-year-old? Yep. You know what they don't want? A surgery to chop off their wang. Yeah, no, don't want it. Don't want it. Even if you throw in the chicken nuggets, even if you throw in the Elio's pizza with the ketchup on, they don't want it. Okay, it was ideology beaten into little kids. You're not trapped in the wrong body. You're trapped in the wrong house. You're trapped in the wrong classroom. But the idea that their argument was, give it or people are going to die. So that's where we are in the Affordable Care Act. People's health care has gone up 300%. It's not affordable. And they're telling us, whoa, you got to extend these subsidies or people are going to die. No, what's actually going to kill people is if we don't do something to address the long-term issue of Obamacare being nothing more than a massive subsidy that enriches insurance companies and does nothing to control the cost for the consumer who's in the outside world buying in private insurance. Here's Chip Roy talking about it, clip 9.
What my Democratic colleagues are proposing is an insurance company enrichment scheme. It's literally what they're doing, is printing money in the Treasury and giving it to insurance companies. That's their solution for health care. Enriching insurance companies that are the very people that are telling the American people which care they can get and not get.
So you think about that. If you're completely beholden to a company, then yes, you are set up for delay, deny, depose, that whole thing. Okay, well, now you can't have this. Now you got to call that number. He checked some coding thing. Now, apparently there's a clause. Now, if it happens on a Tuesday and the barometric pressure is above 13 and the local high school has an away game, that we can't give you the coverage. Yeah, it's a clause. It's right here. I'm sorry you didn't see it before you called. I didn't mean to leave you on hold for 16 hours trying to save your own life. That's what healthcare does right now, okay? And deciding that we should make it bigger and we should consolidate it to basically single payer, which is the end game for Democrats, means the logjam gets that much bigger, the fine print gets that much longer, and the inefficacy of the care gets that much greater and more pronounced. It's a bad thing, okay? I can give you, okay, about 20 clips here explaining where the problem started, explaining what the effect was on the other consumers, on the quality of care, on the lack of competition in the marketplace. But the bottom line is this government shutdown started, I think we were told, because of health care, and that health care has gotten too expensive. And I can agree with you that health care has gotten too expensive. Okay, but the Democrats passed the Affordable Care Act all by themselves, not a single Republican vote. The Democrats passed the Obamacare subsidies and their expiration date all by themselves without a single Republican vote. They forced the young people into the exchanges. They eliminated the competition from the marketplace. And yes, the premiums have gone up 300%. They did it all by themselves. So the Democrats getting in front of a TV camera and telling you health care is too expensive is like bringing out Bill Cosby to tell you the drinks are too strong. Okay, you can do it if you're capable of keeping a straight face, but it doesn't mean the rest of us are. Oh, girl, it is Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon. They're playing Kanye West. If only Kanye could have waited a few years for the anti-Semitic comments, he could have been mayor of New York. This guy jumped the gun, Kennedy. Kennedy's here. We're excited about it. But, I mean, true words have never been spoken. Dean of Harvard. He could have been anything.
Seriously.
That guy was ahead of his time, old Jesus.
Yeah, and, Democrats might have nominated him for 2028. I guess there's still time.
He'd be a front runner in 2028.
Circle of life.
there was an observation made by a good friend of yours, Charlemagne, about the Democrat Party.
The God.
Charlemagne the God. And at first glance, it sounds stupid to me. But he says that Jasmine Crockett is, future of the Democratic Party. But I realize he's not saying like she's particularly good or great or profound. He recognizes how it works on that side. Everybody on that side seems to be an Instagram influencer with a side hustle in Congress. And the fact he goes, Democrats talk about Jasmine Crockett in private, Republicans talk about her in public, which makes her potent because we're amplifying her. So he's probably onto something, wouldn't you say?
Yes. And I have a feeling because she oftentimes, especially with the bomb throwers, they're never properly challenged.
Yeah.
It was really interesting because Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's made a weird shift, but she chose to go on The View. That is hostile territory. And, she totally changed her MO when she was on The View to the point where Sunny Hostin was like, wait, you sound like you're on the left. It was very confounding for them. Jasmine Crockett and AOC, they'll never put themselves in a situation where they're properly challenged.
No.
So debates are the great Achilles heel of Democrat influencers. And, we saw that with plenty of people on the debate stage, but particularly Kamala Harris, because she checked all the boxes that eager Democrats think that Jasmine Crockett checks.
Yeah.
She swears, she is a turd hurler, and they love that about her, but there's still an emptiness.
Yeah.
There's not a robust policy side of her where she's going to get on a debate stage and woo everybody. She's going to get on a debate stage, and if she's polling well, they will pigpile, and that's when those kind of candidates tend to crumble. I mean, the same thing happened to Biden to some degree, and everyone's like, oh, Joe Biden, great debater. Don't you remember him against Sarah Palin, Sarah Kuda? He eviscerated her. And then, it's like within 90 seconds of the debate, we were all going, oh, my God, impose the mercy rule. This has to stop.
Someone should be doing jail time for making him debate.
AOC and Jasmine Crockett, when they get on the debate stage, they will dissolve.
You can only call J.D. Vance a racist for so long, or Marco Rubio, whoever it's going to be. We were talking on your podcast, Can He Save the World? The guy working the hardest in the cabinet is absolutely Sean Duffy. He signed up for this job being like, I'll rename a bridge. we'll dig a new Amtrak tunnel.
I
I'll get out of
remember
here.
when he was nominated, you were like, I drove a cab in New York City. I'd be a better transportation secretary.
I have said that to him, to his face.
Like, if President Trump were listening, he probably would have reconsidered, because that's that's what you have to do. You have to get your ideas in front of him.
You do.
And if someone had proposed Jimmy Fallon, he might have gone, you know what? Yeah, it's great. Let's put him in there.
In round two.
Can you imagine the unholy crap show that you would be dealing? I mean, I do not envy the guy. And for Pete Buttigieg to be like, actually, Sean Duffy is the reason he's so heartless. I'm lactating.
The greatest Pete Buttigieg of all time is him getting caught faking his bike ride to work.
I will never not love that.
Folks,
and it's like that is a metaphor for his political life.
The whole thing.
The Great Pretender.
It's a school play. Folks, if you've never seen it, Pete Buttigieg was trying to film one of those like environmentalist videos where I ride my bike to the Capitol Everett, blah, 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 blah. But unbeknownst to him and his crew, there was someone following them, filming them as they got out of the SUV with the bicycle and got on
a couple blocks away
and rode the last 2 blocks.
Yeah. Making it seem like, no, I do this every day. I've got my briefcase and my backpack and my Stanley Cup and my helmet.
It was the equivalent of in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There's the one guy who doesn't have a horse. He just shakes 2 coconuts. That's how Pete Buttigieg. He's like, I ride a horse to work every day. And he's just shaking the 2 coconuts. Pete Buttigieg, the brave Sir Robin of politics. And Sean Duffy wasn't going to have it. We're talking to Kennedy. She's in studio. Let me give you one. I played a Melinda Gates clip earlier. She's obviously not a friend of Epstein and Billy and all that jazz.
I like... Of the thwarted billionaire-ass ex-wives, she is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, because she don't care. She got a lot of money.
She don't give a
She got so much money, she's given away $40 billion. So what did she get?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. She did all right. But what happened is, and
even if the kids get $1 billion each, it's like, can you imagine having $1 billion?
I'd be dead in a half
And they'd
hour.
probably be like, Mom, can I have $10 billion?
It's not
like,
right.
No. No.
But Elon's kids got $5 billion.
Yeah.
I want $5 billion. That would happen. But I laugh because what happened is they released an email about an Epstein email to Ghislaine Maxwell where they blacked out the name of the victim. So it says victim. Epstein emailed Ghislaine saying the one dog that hasn't barked is Trump. He spent hours at my house with victim. And there's been no blowback from the FBI or police, meaning Trump didn't say anything, victim didn't say anything. But they blocked out victim because it turned out to be the late Virginia Jeffrey, who testified under oath that Trump didn't hang out with her. And someone said to me off the air, they go, well, maybe Trump bought her silence. I go, dude, if Trump could buy her silence, the British royals would have bought her silence.
Well, they did.
Because she's the one who
because
outed-
Andrew, who's
Yeah.
no longer a prince, had to pay her like $16 million.
Yeah.
And then, he released a statement like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for her, and I want this wayward young woman to have a good life.
Just a benevolent soul.
Those were not my red hands. I don't sweat.
No, I need to go. They're having prom. The homecoming king, Prince Andrew, who loses the cottage. Did you see that?
Oh, he lost everything. Wow. Lost the cottage, lost the titles, lost the security, lost the access to everything.
Now, you are our senior correspondent to The Crown, meaning the Netflix show.
Oh, yeah.
I believe they send Martha to the palace, but they send you to Netflix, which for me is more my speed. That matters more to me than anything. Do they make it up to Epstein and Prince Andrew in The Crown, or are we not there yet?
Oh, it's done.
It's
Yeah,
over. Okay,
it's
I wasn't
over.
sure because I know they come back. It's like The Sopranos.
We don't see any Epstein. We do see a little bit of the Fergie stuff and some of the Andrew. And throughout the series, Andrew is portrayed as King Charles' biggest rival.
Oh.
And so throughout the series, there's one episode where Philip asks Elizabeth, who's your favorite child? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And through the episode, she goes and meets with all her kids. And at the end, he goes, we all know it's Andrew. Like, mine is Anne. And she's like, well, you answered that rather quickly. And he's like, I'm surprised you can't. We all know who it is. and then throughout, Charles just ribs Andrew, and Andrew was like, I should be king.
Oh.
And I'm so much closer to you, mummy. And he's jealous of our relationship. And, Charles like, oh my gosh, look who's jealous now.
So
this is so much fun outliving your mom.
So you're telling me Andrew flew down to Epstein Island because they treated him like a king. That's what you're telling me. Caroline Leavitt was at the podium. She said the Democrat release of the Epstein emails was a smear tactic, and there's nothing to it. I mean, one thing I do believe, okay, if we could be on the same page, is if it really is like kneecapping critical game controlling information in those documents related to Trump, I feel like they would have come out. Unless it is a theory of mutually assured self-destruction, meaning in 2016, the Clintons knew of it, but they knew they were in it too. Mm-hmm. That's why I feel like it would have been anonymously leaked, because this thing was selectively and anonymously leaked.
Yeah, because if that were the case, Biden would have released everything.
I think so.
Because he hates, I can't imagine Biden was anywhere near that. And Hunter Biden was so gross, and everyone knew that no one in that orbit, he was too yucky for Epstein. So they would not no, he would not have gotten access. So I think that if that were the case, that Biden would have released all that in order to tank everyone.
Kennedy makes a really good point, though, about Hunter Biden, if you want some perspective. Too sleazy for Epstein. Hunter Biden got kicked out of the Chateau Marmont, where Jim Morrison lived. He was doing too much drugs for the place Jim Morrison lived at.
Yeah.
The place where John Belushi OD'd.
died.
John Belushi OD'd. Hunter did too many drugs for the place where John Belushi OD'd. Yeah. That's next level.
That's where Britney's had so many meltdowns.
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan was at the peak of her addled insanity.
We're talking to Kennedy. There's a lot going on in the world today. A bit of a food fight. We had some Epstein stuff, some shutdown stuff. One thing I'll tell you about the shutdown. If it accomplished one thing because of flight delays, I was telling somebody this earlier, somebody probably broke a record for margaritas in an airport Chili's. That's really all we have to show for this, because there were a lot of flight delays.
Was it you or my brother?
No, it was your brother. Your brother flew out of Newark.
He did.
I forgot about Brian Mon. If he was in the Newark airport.
He was, and he was not in the good terminal.
No.
So Newark has 3 terminals. A, they've totally redone. It's amazing, beautiful, world class. C, it's a United terminal. Newark is a United hub. They've got 2 incredible United lounges. The rest of it is pretty good. They have some decent places. It's not disgusting. Terminal B, third world country, cockroaches, feces.
Yeah,
It's awful.
Yeah, there's nothing like sitting down at a restaurant next to a pilot who smells like weed. You're like, who do you work for again? What's going on here? I need some answers.
Another tab and Tanqueray, Captain. It's a long flight. Keep them coming.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Oh, man. Good times. The House GOP just suddenly dropped those 20,000 pages of Epstein docs, and it comes at the same time that a re-earthed clip from a 2022 interview involving Bill Gates' ex-wife, Melinda Gates, gives us some fresh insight as to what Jeffrey Epstein was like. Now, I want to give you a qualifier here before we get into a discussion that you are welcome to be a part of. 888-788-9910. We're not going to do a ton of phones, but it's out there. If you're feeling lonely and just want to talk to Mikey about his fantasy football roster, he'll pick up the phone. But let me tell you this, and this matters, okay? If the Democrats had something on Trump, it would have come out a long time ago. Like if they had something truly damaging, they would have broken any law to do it. They would have killed people if that's what was required. Like I truly believe that. When you see the depths of which they've gone to stop Donald Trump, don't forget, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Russian collusion?
It was made up by these sick people.
Okay, people are about to go to jail because the Democrats not only made up Russian collusion, okay, out of thin air, but they worked behind the scenes to further the story at a CIA and intelligence community level. Trump knew it was bogus the minute the story broke. He said this whole thing's a scam. The intel community's full of it. And what did Chuck Schumer immediately respond by doing? Threatening Donald Trump. Do you remember this?
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
Whoa! So that's Chuck Schumer telling Donald Trump the intel community's not happy with you.
So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
Straight threatening them. And just listen to Rachel Maddow. She's like, ooh, what would they do? Tell me the bad things that could happen to Donald Trump. See how giddy she was, right? Oh, crazy. But you understand, they made up Russian collusion. They tried to kneecap the president they were serving under by creating a death by 1,000 cuts scenario where they kept leaking anonymously sourced, made-up bombshells to the news networks, hoping Trump would get so frustrated that he fired Robert Mueller and created the perception that he had something to hide. That was the point. Okay, the Mueller probe was not designed to find collusion because they themselves knew they had made up the story. What the Mueller probe was designed to do was get Trump so frustrated, so infuriated, that he eventually committed an unforced error and got himself thrown out of office. Okay, understand, I'm going to give you some big boy talk in this hour. The Republicans in 2016, you know this, this isn't new for you. Okay, but the Republicans did not want Trump to be the president in 2016. They wanted an establishment guy they could control. If you remember, when he was winning the Republican primaries, Reince Priebus, who was the chair of the RNC at the time, was doing all the cable news shows to explain that they were going to have a brokered convention when they got to Cleveland. They said, if in fact no one clinches the delegate threshold, this website will explain how we will go about choosing our nominee during a floor vote in Cleveland. And if Donald Trump hadn't secured the necessary delegates prior to the convention, they were going to get there, no matter how big his lead was, and they were going to vote him out of the nomination.
That's just how white folks will do you.
They did not want a guy in there who was going to shake up establishment Washington, because 90% of Washington is one party. That's why I tell you, don't hate your aunt who's a Democrat. Don't hate your cousin who's a Republican. You guys are sacrificing a relationship on behalf of people that truly could give a rat's posterior about you or your well-being. Look at the government shutdown. 42 million people get screwed over. Tens of thousands of flights get delayed. People miss weddings, funerals, meetings, marriages. Who cares? We got political leverage. Shut up. What do you mean you want Medicare? What do you mean air traffic controller wants to get paid? Go drive for DoorDash, jackass. We got some political leverage here. They don't care about you. Okay, I promise. They don't, not even a little. I know a lot of these people. They don't care. Okay, and understand, knowing that to be the case means they also don't care about Trump either. They care about themselves. So in 2016, they didn't want Trump to be the president. In 2020, if you remember, and I'll tell you this is true, the Democrats did not steal the 2020 election. They changed the rules at local levels to make illegal ways to vote suddenly become legal.
I agree with that.
That's what happened. So the idea that they stole it would mean they broke a bunch of rules on election night or in the week after, and that's how you got beat. No, that's not what they did. They stole it by changing the rules and making it legal. Okay, up until 2020, you couldn't just lick a stamp, stick it on a ballot, and they'll count it whenever the hell it gets there. There were cutoff dates. There were postmark dates. There was no ballot harvesting. There were no 24-hour unsupervised drop boxes. Mail-in voting didn't go on for as long as it needed to. Okay, there were finite limits to all of this. But when the Democrats were changing that at a local level, sometimes going around state legislatures, Republicans didn't fight them because they really didn't care if Trump lost. They didn't. I'm telling you now, look at Trump's current agenda. He's doing a lot of popular things through executive order. And yes, the big, beautiful bill actually passed with Republican support. But some of the bigger things Trump's tried to do, like DOGE, cut down the size of the government, the Republicans got together and threw Elon Musk out of there as quickly as humanly possible. Okay, listen to how Trump's talking now about H-1B visas. Okay, listen to how Trump's talking about propping up Harvard with the 600,000 Chinese students, knowing Trump was suing Harvard like a year ago. Now all of a sudden he's on Harvard's side. It's because they have him governing a little bit closer to the establishment. The establishment wants what it wants. But the point is, if there were Epstein docs that could damage Trump and throw him out of there once and for all, a lot of Republicans would be okay with it. You don't want to hear that, or maybe some of you do, and you get it, and you can handle this kind of sobering talk. But the reality is they're dumping a lot of Epstein dirt right now, okay? A ton of Epstein dirt. It was handled poorly by the administration because Pam Bondi famously brought a bunch of Instagram influencers to the White House and handed out a series of white binders with the title Epstein Files Phase 1. Phase 1. Now, when somebody hands you a thing entitled Phase 1, okay, you naturally assume there's a Phase 2 coming.
Correctamundo.
Except in this instance, she got on TV 3 months later and went, oh, by the way, yeah, there was never a Phase 2. We're not releasing anything else. There's nothing to talk about with Jeffrey Epstein. Why do you people even bring it up?
Some of these women, they're so stupid.
But the point is, okay, what happened in between, we'll definitely give you the Epstein files. And there's no such thing as the Epstein files. She went from literally on our network saying, yeah, I've got a list that's on my desk. I'm going over the documents right now. To she got on TV a few months later and went, there were no documents. There's no files. What are you talking about? Clown stuff. She looked terrible. But if you remember when Elon Musk got chased out of Washington, he famously got into that fight with Trump on a Friday on Twitter and said, oh, by the way, Donald Trump's in the Epstein files. And that's why they're never, ever, ever going to come out. I mean, damn.
This guy will say anything.
Yeah, it could be true, could be not true. We know that he knows that he knew Epstein. We know that he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. We know that he was one of the few guys cooperating with prosecutors back when Epstein got his sweetheart plea deal. But we also know the Democrats would do anything on earth they could if they had damaging intel on Trump, truly damaging intel, and the Republicans would help them leak it. That's how this House Oversight email between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell came out today. Okay, they leaked that email to cast further aspersions on Trump. Now, the truth is, if they had the goods, we'd have the goods. The Democrats control the Senate and the House and the presidency under Joe Biden.
I don't remember that ever happening.
But it did. And the reason they didn't want to out the Epstein stuff is because they knew how heavily involved he was with some very powerful Democrats.
This is not okay.
That being said, the guy is a sleaze. The guy is responsible for Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce, if you remember far back to them talking about it. Here is Melinda Gates talking about it in 2022. You should hear this to give you some further insight. Clip 34.
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing. It was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
All right. So that's Melinda Gates saying, yeah, Jeffrey, I feel bad for those women. She was asked another question, and she said any other Jeffrey questions can be referred to Bill because I'm done talking about this. But the point is, even Bill Gates went out there and apologized for fraternizing with Epstein. Some people think he was a member of the Mossad and was giving intel to Israel. Okay, there's, of course, the problem with Prince Andrew. There's Trump. There's Clinton. Everybody imaginable fraternized with this guy. He was a visitor at the Clinton White House at least 50 times that we know of. And it's kind of a theory of mutually assured self-destruction to go after one guy if it's going to wipe out another in your party. But the reality now is what we're going to find out in the coming week or two about Epstein, and if it's months and if it's years, is just how potent the Clintons still are inside the establishment. Because there's really not a way to get Trump without taking out Clinton, because they were all hanging out. And the only way there could be a targeted strike on Trump, if in fact there's real dirt on Trump, was a very selectively leaked process. But I think the reason the House GOP just dumped 20,000 pages of it all at once is they're pretty confident that they're not about to take out their guy, meaning Trump. That being said, if there's enough ammunition here for the media to create enough doubt and cast enough aspersions, and it just so happens to hurt Trump, weaken MAGA, and minimize his impact on the next election in 2028, maybe even the midterms, they would be absolutely fine with it. Okay, just remember that. Trump's doing good if you like, closing the border. If you want ending wars, all the stuff he campaigned on, he's really doing everything on earth he can to do. If you've seen the stats in Chicago this week about the murders being down and the carjackings being down, and it very much parallels what we saw in Washington, D.C., what we saw down in Memphis. Okay, the Nation of Jake, they'll tell you all about it. My man Ditch, okay, if you're listening on the Roar of Memphis, you know them all too well. But the point is, Trump has made a tangible impact on the quality of life in this country. But it doesn't necessarily mean he's doing things and he's controllable in the way the establishment wants him to be. So yes, the Republicans want Trump at the helm. They want control of Congress. They want to implement as much of this agenda as they can. But no, they won't really be mad if some of it gets tackled at the 1 yard line, because what we're learning about politics is people don't want to solve problems. They want to run on them. Look at where we are in Obamacare. Every single Republican campaigned on repeal and replace Obamacare from the day it was passed. Okay, it was passed in 2009. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. It's got to go. The Tea Party movement was born out of repeal and replace Obamacare. The midterm message was repeal and replace Obamacare. Obama ran for re-election against Mitt Romney. They were like, we got to get Mitt in there. We got to repeal and replace Obamacare. You know, he was the architect of the Massachusetts version of Obamacare. He'd have a way to make a more cost-effective, market-based version of Obamacare. That's why you got to vote for Mitt Romney so we can repeal and replace Obamacare. Well, they lost the election, but they continue to run on repeal and replace Obamacare. Trump got into office. The first domestic priority was repeal and replace Obamacare. But did any Republican in all that time of campaigning and fundraising on it have a plan?
The answer would be no.
The answer would be no. We're sitting here right now, nearly 15 years after they passed Obamacare, and there isn't an adequate functioning plan to repeal and replace it. Because even a lot of the Republicans that agree with what Trump says, he's a pretty powerful guy, he's built a huge coalition, but he knows as well as anybody that not everybody in that room is truly on his side. They're playing ball with their own self-interest in mind, and that's the wild card in all this Epstein stuff. For as much dirt as there is out there, for as many powerful people who are involved, there's that many more dirtbags behind the scenes who would stand to gain from releasing stuff, manipulating stuff, selectively editing stuff, or just illegally leaking stuff. So in the words of Axl Rose and Sweet Child of Mine, where do we go now? Your guess is as good as mine.